Okay, then. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. Today we're going to be looking at drones and the inspection industry, and more of an introduction to what is capable out there. I know I did a webinar about a month ago now, and it was a bit more of an advanced look at the industry and drones in general. But today I really wanted to sort of nail down on sort of like the introductory level. So your Mavic series, your PFCO, what it really takes to get started, the entry barriers basically, and what it takes to actually set up a drone business, especially sort of an inspection business, which we're obviously going to be discussing today. I know we've had quite a big sort of look at the business side of it. Obviously, Steve's doing the webinars, Jamie's doing webinars on different things from copters. But today, I really wanted to nail down on sort of concept and obviously what you'll be doing and how you'll be approaching customers and what the data basically you're collecting, what it is used for, and essentially what they'll be looking for in terms of output. So without further ado, if everybody's happy, I think we'll crack on. I know there'll be people joining us. That doesn't matter. Just put your minds at ease. We will be recording the webinar and we'll be sending it out to you. So everything that we go through today, you will have a copy of. And so yeah, you can go back to it, look at things over, and then if you've got any questions, we will be doing a Q&A at the end. So save them, post them in the bottom. I'll be answering them, throughout the show or the webinar, not the show, and hopefully we can get some more clarity on some underlying questions. So let's crack on. If you aren't aware, Copters are a drone supplier, training centre for the UK. We really do pride ourselves on being industry specialists. So myself from the inspection, we've got Sam, one of my colleagues who heads up the emergency services, and then we've got James Pick, who does the survey and construction industry. Now, we've obviously worked quite closely together on a lot of projects, but we are an all-in-one house basically. So we do all of the training, software, and products. So we're always trying to innovate and help customers out. It's not a case of we're a one brand supplier. We do have a lot of different drones and a lot of different training courses, which allow you to get the best out of drones and the best out of the industry. Obviously, we do lots of different training, from inspection training through to surveying courses, which have now gone live on our website. So if you're interested in the GIS and the inspection and the survey side of the industry, definitely check that out. It is going to be a really good course. Industries at the moment, we've got the oil and gas industry, power generation, construction, mining, public safety. The list goes on. We're looking at roof inspections, building inspections, solar farm, wind farm. It's you think of an application and drones are probably being used or currently have been used in the past. So it's the great thing about drones. We say this all the time. It's not so much a case of buying a drone and it does one thing. Drones are very versatile. They're a platform to put a camera in the sky at the end of the day, and that gives an aerial perspective which you couldn't get unless you had, say, a cherry picker or a rope access team. So having the ability to do that quick, effectively, and a lot safer is it's a massive plus point to a lot of industries. And I think that's in the last couple of years we've really seen a lot of these utilities and nuclear power and even just construction companies adopting drones, because there is a huge potential for them, and the industry is not only just going to keep growing, but it's going to keep growing at a really good pace. So in terms of potential work out there, if you're willing to work for it and you're willing to actually fight for the work, there's so much to be done, and there's a really good really good playground to get at it. So we'll crack on. We'll talk about this throughout the webinar, but I thought I'd bring this up early. Drones are a great asset to have for any company. The three biggest ones: safety, speed, and cost. Everything that's been going on at the moment, and I know pretty much everybody has been affected by COVID-19, and I think they will be, for the next couple of years. Reports we're just getting out of recession over the last 10 years. So, this big sort of thing that's happened is really going to shock the UK, and having the ability to bring in new processes or new way of doing things, maybe a little bit cheaper or a little bit quicker, basically just streamlining processes. This is what companies are now going to start looking at. They're going to start looking at, hang on, how can we do this, but look at doing it for cheaper, or looking on doing on designated shutdown days. And bringing in drones is really one of those key aspects to it. Obviously, I speak quite closely with the water industry in the UK, and drones are currently being adopted by a lot of the suppliers and a lot of the freelance teams, because that's what they're requiring. They don't want people on site. They don't want people risking, rope access or risking working at heights. So they're bringing in drones to avoid that. And obviously, you're not setting up a full scaffolding site, or you're not doing a full inspection on a site which doesn't generally need it. Getting those initial photos or the initial video of a site is a really useful way of lowering those costs. So they do go hand in hand, and obviously I'm sure that a lot of the industry will agree that the safety aspect is a big one as well. And I mean, this is what I think a lot of people have obviously, from the last webinar to this one, the workflow was a huge one. People were asking me about what applications to use, obviously the equipment needed, pre-planning. So I've tried to touch on as much of that as possible. Sorry if I don't answer all of the questions that everybody had, but if you've got anything, we'll go through it and we'll work through it together. But essentially, I've sort of broken it down, and we've used our software AIVA to sort of break this down. And essentially, there's 5 steps there, but there's only 3 big ones. And I know we go through it. It's capture, upload, classify, report, and present. But really, it is as easy as capture, classify, and report. Now, that is a case of going out there, and it doesn't matter what drone you have. Obviously, we'll touch on that, and we'll recommend drones for different industries and different verticals and different applications. But essentially, you need a camera in the sky which is going to be reliable, it's going to be safe, and it's going to get you good quality images. With those images, they can then be reported on, they can then be passed on to your customers, and the quality of images and the quality of data and work that you pass on to your customer is really going to show the work rate of your company. And if you do a good job and you have a lasting impression on that company, you're just going to get repeat work. And we see it all of the time. A lot of my customers from the last couple of years have come back and said, yeah, brilliant, we need something that we can report on, because we're now starting to get a lot of repeat work, and we're getting a lot of data sets that we need stored, and this is a really good process for that. Now, this is a really big one, and I don't think we touch on sort of the apps that enough that we should do, and I think this is really going to play into a lot of people's minds, because when you don't have a drone and you're not used to how drones are used, you think, well, hang on, how does it connect to my phone? How does it connect to an iPad? That sort of thing. But essentially, I've tried to break down sort of the most common applications and the most common way of doing things into 5, including AIVA. But DJI, masters of what they do, producing some of the best drone technology in the world. Come from the hobbyist sector, and they've now pushed into the commercial side of things with the likes of the Enterprise, the Matrice series, you name it. They're probably working on it. But with all of that R&D money, with all of that money that they're ploughing into drones, they've been able to create a really good, useful user interface in their application. So that's where the Go app comes. So the DJI Go is the one you'll control your Mavic 2s on, your Mavic Airs, whatever drone you do have. You're probably aware of this. DJI Pilot for the Enterprise equipment, and the Matrice. So it's really easy to use. It's plug in and play. That's essentially what it is. Now, I have highlighted the capture app, the Pix4D capture app, and we'll go into that shortly, as well as the Altitude Angel as part of your pre-flight setups, because they are really good apps. And I think when it comes to inspection, the biggest aspect of drone work is the safety side. You want to make sure that you're not just safe on the ground, but you're safe in the air as well. And Altitude Angel, which we'll go into, it plays a big part in that. And then obviously AIVA as well, so the actual storage reporting and safety of your images. So with any drone company, with any drone industry professional, you really do need to follow a pre-flight drone safety checklist. Basically, make sure you got your PPE as it is with a lot of industries. What I would recommend: high vis, goggles. Make sure you got your cones, just so that general public and people know that you're working. And yeah, as you say, their fire extinguisher for worst case scenarios just on site. But essentially, it is just a case of assessing the area, flight planning it, documenting it, and then making sure that you are safe. Because worst comes to worst, we've heard some horror stories, and I'm sure a lot of people have. You don't want to be that person who is on the news for losing their drone over Gatwick or something like that. So it's one of those where you always want to keep line of sight. You always want to keep your safety with you, and just keep your wits about you. Just be safe. Be secure. Altitude Angel, as you see here, it's basically a map of the UK, and it shows you all of the places you can and can't fly. Obviously, we've got some yellow and some pink zones there. They represent different airspaces. But essentially, when you are weighing up a job, you are looking to work with a customer, and they say, well, actually, our sites are in this location. This then gives you the opportunity to go and say, well, actually, yes, this is perfect. We can take off from this location, and we can fly, and we won't actually affect anybody around us. We're in a really good location, and that's what it is for the most of the UK. You will find flying close to airports, prisons, police stations, that sort of thing, schools. You will need to get permission from the landowner. Usually it's a written permission, and if you've ever tried to do it with DJI equipment, you will be shut down in the fact that DJI won't let you take off without having a sort of a written acceptance, basically. So it's just a case of saying, look, we need this, contacting the local airport and saying, look, we're going to be flying in this location at this time, and it's really as simple as that. So a lot of people get put off, and it can be quite daunting, but if you follow the procedures, you follow the steps, it's as simple to do. So that's Altitude Angel. That can be downloaded and actually looked at on your desktop as well. So it's an application on your mobile. The collection of data, and this is where Pixel Capture comes into, but also just a general free fly on the Go app. You can see there that below there's a sort of a marked out area, and that's obviously what they're looking to map out. So basically, how Pixel Capture works is a drone will take off from wherever you place it down. It's totally autonomous. You map out it, and then the white lines going up and down is the flight path. So it'll go to the start position, and it will take maybe 50 to 100 photos, depending on how many you choose. As you can see on the left there, it's flying at 50 meters. It's an Inspire 2, and all you need to do is press start, and it will go and do that. If wind conditions start to pick up, or the battery starts to fail, not fail, but the battery starts to get depleted, the drone will actually come back and automatically land. So it's a foolproof solution, safety wise, really good. Yeah, very rare that ever goes wrong, but it's a good bit of system. And in terms of collection data, it really is up to you. We're talking more about the surveying and mapping side here, but in terms of inspection, this is something that I would really recommend. Getting an aerial view of the site. So if you're doing a building inspection, get an aerial view so you can say, well, actually, I was at this location, I saw it from this height. And then you can go and do a free flight. So if you go up one of the walls, you can then allocate those photos to that section and say, from the aerial view, this is where we found it. And then you can get a closer in view. And then from there, it's really easy to repeat. So if it's a change over time, you're doing a construction site or a renovation, you can take those photos, you can store that flight path, and then you can come back every 3, 6, 9 weeks, however long you are looking to do it. And it's really simple to do. And this works with near enough any drone. So I know a lot of people are sticking in the questions or whatever, that they're flying Mavics or the Parrots. This is an application that works really well with all of them. And then to follow on from sort of the free flight side of it, once you've got your overview, it's a really good idea to fly up the structures and pinpoint what you are looking to see. So if a customer has highlighted where they want to see, like they have here, this is a bit of a blueprint, and I believe it's from the like a pylon. You're able to actually fly up and say, well, actually, this needs to be inspected, this needs to be inspected, and you can do that because each of the photos that you collect with, your Mavic series, your Parrot series, they're all time stamped, and this is really important. And not a lot of people know this, but they're all time stamped with positioning. So heights, as in altitude, GPS location, so you've got an actual on map area, and then also angle of camera. So we'll go on to it a little bit. But what that allows you to do is, if you were to be questioned about what you're actually seeing, you can actually say, well, actually, yeah, this is exactly where it is. This is where it is. And if you're then passing this information on to the end client, and they've got a team going out to make a repair or a fix, they can then basically, it's a step by step. They're not having to search for, well, hang on, what photo is this? It's just a photo of a wall. Oh, it's got the coordinates, it's got the angle, it's got where they were looking at. Brilliant. I don't need to do much. I just need to get the ladder out and get up and fix it. So essentially, it makes it very easy. Drones these days, it's very different to how the industry was 5, 10, 15 years ago. Drones are, ever evolving, and it's making our lives a little bit easier. From that, then you get to see this sort of data. So the initial photo, and I believe this was done with the likes of an Inspire 2 or something very similar. So 20 megapixel camera, very similar to the ones of the Mavic 2 Pro, the Hasselblad camera. But essentially, they took a single photo, and then in post-process, they enlarged that. So they actually zoomed in on the post-process photo. And that enabled them, because they had a good megapixel camera, that enabled them to get a good image that they could then annotate on post-process. So when you get back to the office or back to the shop, wherever you're working, you can actually then zoom in, and you're not having to zoom in on actual site. So having a Mavic 2 Pro, take it up to whatever your target is, and then you can take lots of photos and then take it back to the shop. You can do it in the comfort of your own home, when you don't have to be out on site all the time taking multiple photos trying to get the perfect shot. You can take one from a 10, 20 meters away from the target, and then that's it. So it's a really good useful bit of kit. This is a bit more of an internal aspect. I come from the Helios 2, so that's what my sort of product speciality is. So I thought I'd just throw this in because this is sort of a very specialist piece of equipment. So the Helios 2, if you haven't seen it, is like a caged drone, and essentially it works exactly the same as a Mavic 2, or doing an inspection with that, because it gives you the ability to take lots of images and then annotate them and then put them on a world map, which we'll see very shortly. And as I say, identification, measuring of objects, totally possible with the Helios 2. The identification is bread and butter for the industrial inspection industry with drones. And to be honest, and this is a bit of a trade secret, but what does it cost you to go through university? 20, 30 grand. To get into the drone industry, it's a case of doing your PFCO. It's a case of getting a drone and just going with it. Just do it. It's not a case of you have to go through extensive learning. If you can fly a drone and take images, you can do inspection work, because it's a case of working for the customer and saying, yes, I can capture these images and I can report on it. That's what they want. They want the raw data. They want the information that you are seeing from your drone, and it's a really good. Really good industry to get into, because as I say, there's not a lot of barriers to entry. Now, the collection of data is always important, because once you've taken 100, 200, 300 images, you're storing them on your computer, and unless you only save the ones that you want to save, because sometimes you can miss stuff. This allows you, and we'll talk about AIVA, because it is a big talking point at the moment, because it is a huge you know, a really good bit of kit for the inspection industry, and we're seeing a lot of inspection companies, you know, adopting it because it's so useful. It allows you to pinpoint photos and areas of photos onto a world map or onto a rendered image. So having the ability to then capture multiple images and store them in a folder online on the cloud makes your computer a lot quicker, makes your life a lot easier, and then you can actually see, well, actually we only want to inspect the northwest building, so the top right building, sorry. So then you can look at all of these images and you don't have to sift through, you know, hundreds and hundreds of photos to find the right images. Now this particular job, this was actually done with a Phantom, and I believe it was done with a Mavic, and it was done out in the States. Essentially what they did is they flew the site, and then they went in and did a close-up inspection of some of the damaged parts of the buildings. And I did you know, touch on this last week, but I think it's really important to sort of show how this can be done, and how easily it can be done, because at the end of the day, that's what people get nervous about. That's when people start to, you know, lose faith in their equipment, start to lose faith in their ability. And you know, seeing those images there, it really does ring home that it is that easy. You know, you're just taking photos at the end of the day and documenting them. So a bit more of a closer you know, look on what you're seeing. All of the orange circles, they are they're images which we've annotated, and we've said, well, there's damage there that needs to be reported on, that needs to be fixed. And then as you see, all of those images have little lines. So that's the angle, the actual point of interest that it's seeing. So that allows you basically to easily and really quickly look at a certain view. So if you're looking at the I don't know, you're looking from west to east, you'll be looking at these images up on the top, because that's the positioning of the camera. So when it comes to annotation and comes to actually reporting on the images, it's really easy, it's really quick. So yeah, it's as simple as that. Basically, can't put it into any simpler words really. And then from there, those images, so on the left you see the green dot with the arrow, that's what it's pointing at. So it's pointing at this structure here, with the sort of the roof structure, and we've seen a small issue. Now that small issue is then being reported on, and then it's created into a document that you can send to your customer. Now when it comes to inspection, sometimes it is up for debate. Is this a small issue? Is it not? But documenting all of the issues that you find and then presenting them to a customer, you can't go wrong. You know, it's as simple as that. It's, you know, there's going to be points where you've done overkill, or you potentially have reported on stuff which is notable, which doesn't need to be reported on. But at the end of the day, it's better than not reporting on it and then something being missed. And sometimes if you're in the field with the inspection team, they can tell you, well, actually, just have a look back at that. Let's have a closer look. So it's as simple as that. So for people who are asking, this software is called AIVA. And we'll go into price and stuff a little bit later, but it can be found on our website. It's just a really good inspection software which we've been using, and we've found to be, you know, a really big you know, fan favorite basically of our customers. So we've start pushing it a little bit further, and that just takes us back to the sort of the workflow: capture, upload, classify, create, and present. And I know we focus more on the capture and the classification, not so much on the create, because at the end of the day, I want to talk more about the actual core inspection techniques, which we're going to go through. And then, yeah, as I said, this is AIVA, so you can find it on our website. To be honest, prices they are meant to be, you know, relatively cheap. You're working with 500 images. It's something where you can store the images and you can actually pass them on to your customer at you know, a cost of basically a coffee sometimes. But in terms of what you're going to be working on, it's yeah, if you're working on 10 sites, £200 of that, it's not a bad deal. Before we go on to sort of the camera qualities, I do like to talk about more of a case study and what you'll be expecting to inspect. Now, this is more of an internal side of things, but if you were to look at it from a Mavic standpoint, it's a tank inspection, but a roof inspection. So you flip on its head, you are going to be looking for problems, for damages, for anything that's going wrong. And this is something that the DJI series is really good at, because they are versatile bits of kit. They are really good at what they do. You can actually get up close, and because you've got the collision avoidance sensors on the Mavics, it's a really good system to fly close to buildings and not have any problems. You know, if you do start to have strong gusts of wind, you can bring it back and still have the 20 megapixel camera to get those good sharp images. So as it says there, foreign objects. And in terms of the drone industry, inspection has been a huge one in the last couple of years for the industrial side of things, because traditionally you've had a bit of a barrier to customers and to clients opening up their doors to new technology and new ways of doing things. And I think that's just a natural progression that a lot of industries do have when it comes to new technology and new ways of achieving results. Now, when you combat that with sort of an increase in age, so to say, so people staying in their jobs for a lot longer, it can be quite difficult to penetrate in. But what we're actually seeing is that drones, and as I said before, with the way the world is going at the moment, people are looking for the cheaper alternative and safer and quicker ways of doing things. And drones are offering that, and it can't be ignored anymore. It really can't be ignored, because they are producing some really good results. Storage tank, this actually gave them a reduction in confined space entry, so they didn't have to send people in. So that's the safety side. 90% reduction in time, so that's the speed of the operation. The cost is obviously a big one, because they're not having to provide PPE for their internal teams, not having to do all of the on-site time as much, and it's 100% compliant. So drones, if you were to take a rope access or a scaffolding image that they'd been taking and compare it to drones, I can guarantee that the customer would not know the difference. They would not know the difference between an image that's taken from a drone and taken from a bloke on a rope. The only difference is the guy who's dangling from 100 meters is doing it at his own risk. There is a lot more that can go wrong, and it takes a lot longer, and it costs a lot more money. That is the difference. At the end of the day, that's the big difference. And I know that rope access companies who, if you are watching, I do apologize. I don't mean to throw you out like that, but it's not supposed to be it's taking over the industry. It's not supposed to be taking their jobs away. It's an asset. It's an assistance. It's an introductory application to find a fault or to do something quicker. It's not going to be taking people's jobs away like that people were thinking about in the last 5-10 years. It's totally an asset. It's totally used by the customer to get good results and get reliable results. High temperature storage tank, really good one. This was actually done with a thermal inspection, and I've got some good images from the Mavic Thermal that we'll go into in a little bit more depth. But the thermal side of it allowed you to see the temperatures of the surface of the tank, which made it a really good tool for any sort of problems, or if there was an area where a corrosion had occurred, the actual temperature of the tank would be different. You'd be able to assess that. So it wouldn't be a case of somebody going around the whole building doing an inspection. It would be a drone doing it in a quarter of the time. I don't want to spend too much time just going over the same old case studies, because we do have some really good images which I really do want to show you. But again, it's that safety, and this is and I want to hammer this home, because this is the big thing that you'll be selling essentially to your customers. This is the big thing: safety, speed, money, and reliable data. And not a lot of industries can say that something has come along and revolutionized it as much as the drone industry can. I'll just move on. So, importance of your camera. This is a huge one, and anyone from the photography industry will know this. you win jobs sometimes, and it's not a nice thing to say. It's not a nice thing to say. You win jobs on the quality of your imagery or the quality of your data, and that's just normal. It doesn't matter how safe you are. It doesn't matter how quick you are doing something. If you've got good, reliable data, you're going to stand out. If you can say to your customer, "I can do that. I can get you the imagery you need on the first try." Brilliant. That's essentially all you need to do. Here we have the Z30 actually for the M200. This is using an optical lens zoom. So the images are taken at the same position, but with 30 times zoom and 1 time zoom. So if you can't get close to a building, zoom is a perfect application for that. If you can't get close to an area due to wind speeds in the area, or there's sort of high frequency from some interference or big metallic structures, sometimes using a zoom camera, it can be a really good, effective way of getting that data. As you can see there, you can actually read the writing on the wing of the propeller. So zoom can be sometimes a really good aspect to have, but at the same time, it does come with its plus and its minuses. Obviously, you have to collect the data there and then. You can't take it back to the office and then annotate it. You can't then inspect it from the comfort of your own office. So a lot of people will know what sort of megapixels their cameras are on their drones, using a 1-inch sensor compared to a 1/4 inch. But essentially, the larger your sensor, the more data you collect, the more megapixels you have. So for the likes of, I think it's the Mavic Zoom, that's got 12 megapixel. You compare that to the Mavic 2 Pro, which got 20. You're actually collecting more points of interest in that single image that you're collecting. So when you ramp it up to 50, which some of the the high end cameras are doing, you can then take a single photo from a lot further away and still collect some incredible results. Mavic 2 Pro, and I can't stress this enough, really good bit of kit. Good bit of kit because it's cheap as well. Combine that with its Hasselblad camera, it's an absolute dream come true when they partnered with Hasselblad. Gave you a good camera, a good flight system, collision avoidance, decent interface. You've got a really good solution. So using that in the commercial industry, and people ask you, is this really what people use? Yeah, of course it is. Some companies will have the higher end equipment because they require it for higher end jobs. But if you're doing a roof inspection or a roof survey, something like that, having something like a Mavic 2 Pro just to see it and get an idea or an advantage point, that's perfect. Can't go wrong with a good bit of kit like that. So altitudes on the actual megapixel size, you can use a 5 megapixel camera and still gain decent quality image, but you're going to have to fly a lot lower, and that increases the risk. So having something like a 12, you're going to have to fly close to a building. 20, a little bit further away, it's going to give you some really good results. But then as you get higher and higher, I know the Phantom 4 Pro, bit of a fan favorite in the industry for the last couple of years. That's got 20 megapixel camera, actually a mechanical shutter as well. So for the lights of surveying, really good. But this is where I feel the Mavic sits perfectly, because you have your 50 megapixel camera. It's very much high end, expensive equipment, and the Mavic series, they fit very nicely in a sort of a good price, good quality, and very reliable. And we can touch more on the altitudes and different heights that you fly at to get good results. But essentially, this will give you enough room from your target to get good results and be safe at the same time. And that's essentially what we try and promote. It's what the industry is trying to promote. And as it says there, it's still relatively light in the fact that if something does go wrong, you're not going to cause a huge amount of damage. But yeah, I can't stress that the Mavic 2 Pro is a good bit of kit. And I know I talked about the 300 coming out last time, and some of the new equipment like the Parrot and NAFI USA. But for the price point and for the usage, the Mavic 2 Pro is a really good, especially for an introductory level, really good starting point into the industry, because it does give you a lot of versatility and a lot of options moving forward. Now, thermal capabilities and thermal inspection has been around for a while, but it's really sort of kicked off. I've been having more and more conversations about it, seen more and more on the internet about this over the last couple of years, and I think a big part of this has come from the search and rescue element, and that's why I've obviously put a photo up there of that, because it does have that capability, because it can find heat loss, it can find heat images. And essentially, if you're doing a thermal inspection or a heat loss inspection, whatever you're doing, you're trying to find problems. You're trying to find heat or trying to find loss of heat, and that's exactly how it uses the technology in the inspection industry. So we've got two images either side, both taken from aerial thermal cameras, flare cameras to be precise. And you can see where some of the panels have malfunctioned or they've been broken. And this can be caused from all sorts, from hailstorms, even just faults. And you can obviously annotate those, send those off to your client, and you can actually pinpoint exactly what panel needs to be changed, rather than a technician going around all of the panels trying to do it in a day's job. This can be done in 5 minutes. So the thermal capabilities is a really good option to have moving forward, and that's why the Mavic Enterprise really does take the industry by storm, because it's a relatively cheap thermal camera on a very good drone kit. So it's combining the Mavic series with a thermal camera at a quarter of the price as any other drone, and I think that's why I'm sort of focusing a lot on the Mavic series, because I'm trying to find not the cheaper but the most affordable setups that you can get into the industry for. Because I did get, I wouldn't say backlash, but I got a bit of questions about, are you going to do anything on the smaller drones, the intro drones? And yeah, they are smaller, but sometimes smaller is better. You can get onto site, you can stick it into a bit of a camera bag, and you can get around, whereas sometimes lugging around a huge suitcase full of equipment can be a bit of a chore, especially if you're out in the field. The Mavic series really does tick those boxes. So it's definitely, especially for 2020 moving into 2021, the Mavic series really is. It's going to be watch this space, because a lot of companies will start to use them. And essentially, this is what you'll see. So this is actually quite far away, and this was actually a fire. And what it allows you to do is, if you are searching for a point of interest which is of a different heat sense, you can set it so this is called an isotherm. So whenever the camera sees a heat signature which is above the heat setting that you set it at, it'll send you an alert. So you don't even have to be looking at it precisely every pixel that's coming through. You can then find and allocate those settings basically, and it will give you an alert to say, hang on, here's a problem, here's a thermal temperature which there shouldn't be. So if you're doing a heat loss of a building, and you're trying to find where some of the insulation has fallen through, or there needs to be an update in the roof, that there needs to be a repair, you can fly the entire length of the building, and you will actually see that, because there is heat coming from the inside of the building and being lost in those certain pockets. And so if you were to set that to say 30 degrees or 25 degrees, whatever temperature is just above the core temperature of the building, you're going to find that. You're going to find it really quickly and effectively. And I mean, I'm not an expert in roof thermal insulation, but I can guarantee that a lot of the customers who will be looking for this information will be swearing by, wow, that would usually take a lot longer than just a couple of flights. So on this uses, because I've just got a message about this. This uses Mavic Enterprise Dual, that uses DJI Pilot. So it's not the same as the Go. It uses a different application, but it still can be used for the DJI Capture, the Pixel Capture app, and it can still upload all of your images to AIVA. So it captures the direction, and it captures the GPS point of the image. So all of the images that you get, it will be stored on the SD card of the drone, containing the positioning and the geotagged location, basically. So yeah, some pretty cool technology. And just to finish on that, I know we'll be answering some questions, but in terms of the two packages, I would definitely recommend, especially from working in this industry for a while and seeing what people are using, seeing what people are adopting. the two definite packages for the price they are and what you include. Go check them out on our website. The Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic Enterprise Dual. Can't stress how good both of those bits of equipment are. If you're looking more for a more versatile bit of kit, including thermal, the Mavic Enterprise Dual is perfect. It has full collision avoidance, so you can get close to buildings without having the risk of it crashing. Whereas a lot of other drones don't have that ability. And then you've got a really good user interface. And sometimes I feel user interface is sometimes brushed over. The application, the actual software that it's using, it is about the user experience. And if you can have a good system which you be reliable and you can get your head around very easily, that's perfect, and that's all we want to see. So yeah, I'm more than happy to answer some questions now. In terms of the sensor not being radiometric when it comes to the solar industry, there are radiometric cameras that you can get. I know that the Parrot Nafi Thermal offers a radiometric ability. So for the likes of people who don't understand radiometric qualities, radiometric means that when you take an image or you capture an image of a thermal shot, each pixel that you pick up has an individual heat signature. Which is really useful for doing your reporting or your post-processing, because you can then go to your customer and say, this pixel was this temperature. I do feel that when it comes to doing heat loss or finding points of interest with thermal, it's not a massive requirement. But when it comes to something more specific that you potentially might need in the future, it's definitely going to be an option which I think will be useful. And I know that the Parrot USA, which is coming out, does have a radiometric sensor on it, and it's equipped with a good zoom lens as well. So we will be doing a webinar on that, I believe. I think Sam's got one of those planned very shortly, so hopefully we'll answer some more questions on that. You can check that on the events page. Let's see what else we've got. So how does the number of images in the AIVA package work? So you essentially get 500 images spread over 10 sites. So for that year, you'll get 500 for the year, and then the next year you'll get 500 more, and that can be upgraded to the next budget or the next version whenever you need. So if you've got a couple of sites which have got maybe only using 50 to 100, you've then got the rest of the allocation to use for the rest of the 8 sites. But obviously we can tailor that to you guys if you are looking to use a lot more imagery. So intrinsically safe drones, it's a really good question. It's a question which we've been asked the start of time, basically. And I understand why people are asking it. It's very difficult to have intrinsically safe drones, and there I can post a really good blog on that in the comments, and actually I'll do that now. But essentially, intrinsically safe is very difficult to do. There was a number of companies who tried it, and essentially it didn't go very well, and I think they ended up going bust before they even created a foolproof solution. So it's going to be something that we're going to see in the next 5 to 10 years, but immediate product is not something that we see on the horizon. If you just hang around, I'll post the article that talks about intrinsically safe drones to the chat. Okay. The USA is not radiometric. I'll have to check that out. I appreciate you sending that through. But no, it's still going to have a good thermal camera. I know that the USA is going to be launched very soon. I think we're already sending them out to customers who pre-ordered. So it's going to be a good bit of kit, and I'll have to do a bit more reading on that, I think. So yeah, on the AIVA, I'll actually go back to that so you can see exactly what. We'll try and answer your question on that. We'll go back to one of the pages prior. By all means, guys, if you've got any sort of more personal questions on pricing, or you're looking to set up, email them through to me. I'll stick my email in the chat now, so you've got that. Yeah, always happy to sort of jump on a call, or even if it's a WhatsApp, just shoot it through to me, and happy to do that. But as you see here, the imagery, the numbers, so that means there are a certain amount of images that are collated in that area. So with that, there's 3 images in that circle, in that red circle. So go to the next image, then you can choose from the 3 that you see at the bottom. That basically allows you to have a bit more of an understanding of what there is. So for the small issue, it is a small issue. It could be fixed, could not be fixed. It's really up to the user. I'm just trying to think of what else to go through on the stuff that I've said. In terms of industrial inspection, there's a magnitude of work out there, and it's just waiting to be sort of used by drones. I think you can definitely start to think about the use cases that are already in the industry, but it's the innovative companies who start to promote it to the companies who aren't using it. So drones came from a photography standpoint, where it was very much cinematography and photography, and then they started to have their uses in industrial inspection. We saw some of the biggest companies like Cyberhawk, Texo adopting drones very early, and I think how the industry will adopt in the future is those innovative companies, those companies who can produce reliable, good data. They're the ones who are going to prosper, and if that's something that you can do, it's perfect. So if you've got any questions, send them through. Love to bounce some ideas off you. But no, I hope everyone's enjoyed the day, enjoyed the questions. But yeah, if you've got any further questions, just shoot them on to us, and we'll try and get them out to you as quickly as possible. But thanks very much for joining us, and yeah, hopefully speak to you soon. Cheers, guys. Bye bye.